They took the credit. They had the ideas. When we think about the great names of philosophy, a few figures always come to mind. Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. But there is an uncomfortable question that rarely appears in history books. What if some of those ideas didn't originally come from them? Throughout history, brilliant women taught, debated, and wrote about philosophy. Yet time and time again, the recognition went to the men around them. These are the women whose ideas may have shaped history, even if their names nearly disappeared from it. The woman who taught Socrates. One of the most famous concepts in ancient philosophy is the idea that love can lead us toward higher understanding. That love begins with physical attraction, but can eventually lead to the appreciation of pure beauty and truth. This idea appears in a famous dialogue written by Plato called the Symposium. But inside that text, something surprising happens. Socrates himself claims that he did not develop this theory. According to Socrates, he learned it from a woman. Her name was Diotima of Mantinea. She supposedly taught him the philosophy of love and the path toward higher wisdom. Yet in most philosophy books, the credit is usually given to Socrates or to Plato. Diotima is often mentioned only briefly, if at all. The intellectual of Athens. In the city of Athens, during the 5th century BCE, there was a woman known for her remarkable intelligence. Her name was Aspasia of Miletus. Aspasia was famous for her skill in rhetoric and intellectual debate. Some ancient sources suggest that her home became a gathering place for thinkers and politicians, a place where ideas were discussed openly. Some accounts even suggest that Socrates himself attended these conversations. Others claim she may have helped craft speeches for one of the most powerful leaders in Athens, Pericles. Despite this reputation, Aspasia rarely appears in lists of the great thinkers of ancient Greece. The poet, called the Tenth Muse. Long before many famous philosophers, a woman on the island of Lesbos was writing about love, desire, and the complexities of human emotion. Her name was Sappho. In ancient Greece, she was widely respected as one of the greatest poets and intellectual voices of her time. Some even called her the Tenth Muse. But something strange happened to her work. Nearly 90% of it disappeared over the centuries. Today, only fragments of her poetry survive. Small pieces of what was once considered some of the most beautiful writing in the ancient world. The medieval mind overshadowed. Centuries later, during the Middle Ages, another brilliant woman entered the intellectual world of Europe. Her name was Héloïse of Argenteuil. She is often remembered because of her tragic relationship with the philosopher Peter Abelard. Traditional history portrays Abelard as the great thinker and Héloïse as his student. But the letters exchanged between them tell a different story. In those writings, Héloïse demonstrates deep knowledge of philosophy, theology, and classical literature. Some modern historians believe that her intellectual contributions were far greater than history usually acknowledges. Yet when people talk about medieval philosophy, the name most often remembered is still Abelard, the philosopher who lost her book. In the year 1587, a remarkable book appeared in Spain. It was called Nueva Filosofía de la Naturaleza del Hombre, the New Philosophy of Human Nature. The book explored something extremely advanced for its time, the connection between emotions, the mind, and physical health. Today that idea may sound familiar, but in the 16th century, it was revolutionary. The book was published under the name Oliva Sabuco. However, years later, something unusual happened. Her own father publicly claimed that he was the real author. For centuries, historians debated who actually wrote the work. Today, many scholars believe that Oliva Sabuco was indeed the true author. These stories do not necessarily prove that ideas were stolen, but they reveal something important about history. For most of the past, women had far fewer opportunities to publish, teach, or receive recognition for their intellectual work. And that raises an intriguing question. How many brilliant ideas might have been forgotten, simply because of who first spoke them? Perhaps the history of philosophy is still incomplete. If you could travel back in time and attend the lecture of just one of these thinkers, which one would you choose?